You ready for some voices? You are now tuning in to Voices with Corey. Today's guest, ElusiveVA. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Voices by Corey here, and we are back for our second episode of Voices with Corey. I am blown away at the very positive reception of the first episode with Joe. You guys have said nothing but great things, and you say that the episode flowed really well, the content was fun, and that short format was perfect for what we're doing on this podcast. And truly, it really means a lot to me that you guys listened in, showed it support, especially for it being the very first episode. You know, there's times where people won't even tune into your episode until you're about 2 years into your show. So it was nice that the Newgrounds community was willing to listen to the first episode. And even just outside of Newgrounds, I still haven't uploaded it to YouTube. I'm being very lazy about that, but I want to get a thumbnail created for the podcast before I do that. So if anyone's willing to help me out, reach out to me and we'll do that. But I got a very exciting guest here for our second episode of Voices with Corey. I've had the pleasure of knowing this individual for the last few years now, and I've gotten to know him over this last year really well. I like to consider him a good friend, just from our conversations we've had. We got to game and stream together with fellow members of this family that we have created. If you listen to the last episode, you know who I'm talking about. This guy goes by ElusiveVA, and Elusive is more so known for his work on Spooky Month. He's the voice of Kevin. He is the voice of Ross and Jack as well. If I'm remembering the cop duo right, I think it's Jack. Yeah, it's Jack. And but everyone knows him primarily for Spooky Month, but there's another project he has been a part of recently called ANNA-LOGUE. If you've ever seen that beautiful series, he got to be a part of it, and we're going to talk about that show tonight and just pick his brain about voice acting and all this good stuff. And I'm very excited to have Elusive on the second episode of Voices with Corey. Elusive, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. Hi, thank you for inviting me. This is very exciting for me. I'm looking forward to this.
Of course, man. I'm excited about this too. Like I said, we've gotten to know each other over the last few years, since I was brought on to the Spooky Month team to voice Bob, and since then, like I just feel we've gotten to know each other really well. Like we mesh well as friends. We're goofy. We love to game, and we have a thorough love for voice acting. And it just made sense to bring you on as a guest. And I want to try to bring more of my voice acting buddies onto the show. And it just made sense, just because you got a lot of good stuff going on in your career. It's an exciting time for you, and I felt it was just necessary to bring you on and just have some fun.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of fun. This year has been very fun recently. So yeah, I'm willing to push more. A lot of people get on my back and are like, you should push yourself more. And like, you're very good at what you do, and you should do this. And like, I'm like, yeah, but I want the right mindset. I want the grind set, But yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. And I'm one of those people who tells you to do more, because we're all right. You are fantastic at what you do. We've seen all the episodes of Spooky Month, and we know your performances in there.
Oh, how is it evolves over time? I want to tell everybody.
Tell everyone how your characters have evolved over time and how your performances have evolved over time.
Yeah, like over time, I think it was because David hit me up and he's like, I need a voice, Johnny. I need this for a voice. I can't voice all these characters. And he's like, okay, I'll do it for you. So it was basically myself. But he's like, you need to be like sad. It just make sure you're at your job. You know, your job, you've been telling me like how horrible it is. And I'm like, yeah, I got you.
So real life experiences being brought into the performances. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I got you. And so I did it on like a very like, I didn't like the microphone at the time. And I was trying to invest into like a better microphone over time. So I was like, okay, I could do it. At least I sound decent. And I didn't care about that. So I was like, yay, I don't stress as much while recording when it comes to like a certain mic you have to do. So, but that was very fun. A very fun episode. I had like, 2 lines? Maybe 2 lines. I didn't think it would be a really big thing at the time. I know my friend Chase was in it before, and he was in part of his Undertale things. Yeah, the Undertale. Yeah, he was. I was weird because I knew Chase of the time, but I didn't know he was in the Undertale thing because he did a little Gaster bit, and I'm like, I like his voice as Gaster, so I'm like, oh, Chase, all right. But as for me, I was just like, oh, I'm excited to get into more things. I've been out of projects for a while. I took a long break, and yeah, that's where I just started at that point. Even though I'm going to tell you now. Before then, I had tons of experience before, but I'll talk about that later.
Ooh, yeah. See, and that's the thing. I don't know much about your past work. Like when I got to first know you, I just knew you simply through Spooky Month, and then I've seen you voice in a couple of what was the one dub that you shared with me a while ago?
I think it was. Oh yeah, no, it was some. Okay, so the name goes hard is what I'm going to say. I was known by a little bit of couple different names. And what happened was I was part of some abridges. I was a part of some Fandubs. And at the time, it was just that. It was just like, oh, you want to do a Fandub? Shoot me a Fandub. And we'll just do a Fandub because we like the show. Or it was like, oh, yeah, you want to do this abridged series about? Here, I'll get you in. And it was like very messagey, very fast paced at the time because it was back when YouTube had templates and you can make your own backgrounds. Yeah. And it was just at the time I was just collecting them at the time, and I'm like, oh, I love these. So I did like comics, little bits, funny memes. I just wanted to have fun with voice acting as the way of like how anybody would get themselves into like a thing. Like if you want to build stuff, you start small. So that was my thing. I like sharing my little things from the past, but not too much.
There's always those little projects where like I don't really want you to know about it, but it's still there if you want to see it. Like the last week when I talked with Joe, we were talking about old projects that we've done, and I still have all my original works up on my Newgrounds. And there's some projects where I'm just like, oh yeah, I recorded that. That's right. Like one of my last projects I recorded before I stepped away for a bit myself. It was a spoof on Superman, and it wasn't called Superman. It was called Pooperman.
Oh, of course.
And I voiced and I voiced Pooperman in it, and and I look back on that, I'm like, wow, yeah, I recorded for that, and my mic sounds absolutely dog shit, and the performance was dog shit, so I guess it worked well for Pooperman. It was just shitty altogether.
Oh, I think my first ever project I was in, quote unquote project, it was a friend of mine found this dumb anime series, just completely dumb, just just slop, and this was back in like 2013. So kids days, there was slop back then too. But we did this. I had a character where he brought around an axe all the time. And it was just nothing but axe puns and me being dumb and involving my axe in every conversation.
Oh my god, I love that though.
Oh, it's horrible, but I love it. It's my first start, and I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And it was on one of those strap mics where you clip it onto a laptop.
Oh,
Little
yeah.
boom. Yeah,
I remember
that was
those.
my first mic. Oh,
My first microphone was a USB microphone. Get this,
yeah.
from Guitar Hero World Tour. You know how they had like the whole
No.
setup? Yes. Because being so young and naive, I'm like, it's just a microphone. It should work. Oh my God. It sounded so fucking horrible. Like, if you want to hear how bad that audio was, because I did a few projects with it, go listen, go to my Newgrounds page, go to my audio, and go all the way back to my first submission, and you can hear how shitty that USB mic is. People say you start somewhere, and yeah, for me, it was a Guitar Hero World Tour, a USB microphone.
Most of my Australian friends were like that. Way back when, because I'd stay up late. I had voice acting Australian friends, and I'm like, oh, this is good. I love them. They're night owls, but they're not technically.
Yeah.
So
It's daytime for us, mate.
I still miss them. I still talk to some this day. It's really good.
I love that.
Also with Newgrounds, I was always scared to go on Newgrounds. I think it scarred me one time.
Oh, okay. You have to tell us
Yeah.
what scarred you on Newgrounds.
I don't remember. I kind of blocked it out.
Okay, good then. Good. There's always that one
Yeah.
thing where like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, it's always been like that, and I'm like, nope, not this side again. And they didn't manage like the audio well back then either, so I'm just like, I don't like that. So, but yeah, like I was always scared to go on Newgrounds, so I strayed away from it. I didn't become a Newgrounds person because of that. And then later on now, I'm like, oh, I should be a part of Newgrounds stuff. That's pretty cool. But like, I wanted to see if I can span over there, especially this year. Reason why I'm going to be a part of a collab recently in Newgrounds, and I'm excited for that.
Ooh, which collab?
A Deltarune one.
Oh, very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's one of the beauties of Newgrounds, is the fact that there's always an opportunity to work on your craft, whether you're an animator, game developer, a musician / composer, an artist, voice actor. There's always means for you to work on your craft and work with other creators, and you guys can work on your stuff together and just improve. Like, I'm planning at some point to get the Newgrounds voice acting collaboration back up and running, and when that happens, I'm getting you on that, and you're going to be a part of that. Because that's really fun. All the audio skits that we do on there have been incredibly fun, well produced, and it's just a good place to like build your craft and just showcase what you already know. I was telling my buddy Joe prior, I listened back to the very first one that we did, and then the last one that we did, and I just heard myself progressively improving, not only with my voices, but with my acting. And the quality of my audio sounded so much better. So it's cool to have that as a reference of growth. So that's ultimately what I love about the site, is it just gives people a platform to do what they do. And I'm glad that you're trying to get more into it, because there's plenty of voice acting work to have on Newgrounds.
Oh yeah, that's why I was very happy. I have some animator friends, some like 3D modeler friends, and I'm not like, there's a whole creative like friend group, and I'm like, guys, if you need me, just let me know. Don't be afraid to ask. I'm trying to get into it as well. So
and speaking of your 3D modeling friends, let's talk a little bit about ANNA-LOGUE. Like, were you able to secure your role in ANNA-LOGUE from like Newgrounds, like from the connections you made on Newgrounds, or is this like?
So I'm not gonna talk about how I secured, like actually got into it.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna phrase it like this. There was a 3D modeler I was friends with, and he decided to invite me to like a Discord group, a bunch of 3D models, and they want to learn off each other. They're just bouncing back and forth. And I'm like, oh, cool, dude. I want to see all these cool things too. And then they're showing me, and we're showing that, and they're like, yeah, and then one of them, I was like, oh, his voice, by the way, is very, very, very low. And I'm like, oh,
Very
okay, I'm
low
paying
and
attention to
early.
him. And so Macho, the creator, he's like, yeah, I like your stuff, Elusive. I like how you draw and stuff. So he was interested in my drawings. And I was like, oh yeah, I do voice work too. He's like, oh, no kidding. There's actually some voice things I'm looking for. specifically. And I'm like, oh, really? And yeah, so he sends me the voice rolls, or the voice, what do you call them? Where you want them to have this certain voice. It's like a sample.
Oh, yeah, like a voice sample, yeah.
Yeah. And he has an audio sample with pre-renders for it. And so he animates to the audios. And I'm like, oh, cool, let me look through them. And like they're for like mostly like Newgrounds voice actors too. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And like Macabre was gonna be a part of it as well.
Oh,
I'm like, what? That's cool.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, he's in the second episode. And he's a little rodent guy. I forgot his name, but I love him. He's so happy. I got to meet him through that. And then after that, they're like, yeah, I'm looking for this specific one for in-house. And yeah, I want to get a hold of this voice actor. And I think the voice actor for them was, have you seen those animations with Ultra Kill? And like, I forgot one animation. It was part of a review thing, and it had like voicing in it. So it had like the main blue robot doing the voice, the robot voice, and then the other one was the red one that looks like him, and it was this voice actor that I'm like, oh man, I can't top this guy. He's obviously I can't top this guy. But the thing is that, you know what? I'm gonna shoot my shot. How about I give you some samples of what I can do? You give me a voice or a line, and I'll try to voice that for you. And so he gives me 3 voice lines. I send it to his way, and he's like, I really like it, but what really sold me was my sister really liked it too. So whatever my sister says, sister goes.
Heck yeah.
I'm like, really? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. So he set me up as like the quote unquote, like, you know, voice for it. Because during that, he's like, I can have you as a substitute. But no, he wants me as the full voice. And I'm like, oh, okay. For the shorts, they're gonna be like little shorts until Macho wants to make the game, and I'm excited about that. Further on.
Heck yeah.
And that's how I kind of snowballed into it. I'm very excited about it. I love the role.
I loved your role in it too. Like, your overall performance was just, it was very bubbly, but also at the same time very chaotic, with just you managing all the flowers that were being sprouted out of thin air and nowhere, and just trying to control the madness that was happening. If you haven't seen the newest episode, I'm gonna link it in the description of the podcast, so you guys can go check it out. It is
also on Newgrounds,
and also on also on Newgrounds. That was literally the first time I got to hear you truly outside of Spooky Month. And like I said, man, like, it was refreshing hearing you perform and seeing your acting chops on display. I was like, man, Elusive is fantastic. Oh my God, I'm eating this up. It was so good. So yeah, I'm excited for you to have more opportunities in Analog, and with the game. I hope that your character gets to be a part of the game. That would be absolutely fantastic. And you mentioned really quick, with the shorts. And there's another short that is about to be produced. And I know a lot of fans of Spooky Month are going to enjoy that. I don't know how much you can talk about it, but what can you talk about the Spooky Month short?
David's going to kill me because last time I talked to him, he's like, he talks too much. He can't say anything. I'm like, I literally just don't. I literally lie. What do you mean? But what I can say, it's going to be a short about the character Kevin and a little peek of what he deals with. And that's all I can tell you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, you're talking to a fellow castmate. I know when you can't say shit. Mm-hmm. So, yes.
There's one thing, I have to approach this role differently. That's the only hint you get. So
yeah, you've mentioned that to me before. Like this is going to be a whole new approach for Kevin, and I'm excited to see what you do for Kevin in this short, because it's always just been like, get the hell out of my candy store, like you're just making my mess, like you're just making everything so much worse. Now
you're making everything so complicated.
So it's gonna be cool getting to see a new side of Kevin instead of just this grumpy, food service worker who has some spouts of happiness. So it's gonna be cool to see you take on this new persona, or just like these new experiences that Kevin's gonna be going through. So
yeah, because the whole time I had to shut up about Kevin. Like, there's no Kevin lore if you want to know about that. But yeah.
The only lore is he works at the candy store and he hates his job. So there you go. There's your lore. But that's cool, man. I'm glad that David has agreed to start, or is wanting to pursue more shorts and giving himself time in between, the main episodes. Last time we had the short with Streber, him getting things prepared for the haunted house that appears in episode 5, and now we're gonna see this short with Kevin, not knowing when it takes place. If it, I'm not gonna ask you when it takes place. We'll leave that to mystery. We'll let the lore experts figure that out, and then we're gonna get episode 7, which is gonna be pretty damn cool, from the little bits of information that Pelo has released to the public. Holy cow, this is going to be a badass episode. Now, aside from all that stuff, are there any projects that you have that upcoming that you want to talk about, or just previous work that you just want people to feast their eyes upon?
There's one I can't really talk about, but it is a college project I really want to get into, and I play a cat guy who his role is that he is the older brother of royalty.
Ooh.
And he didn't want to step in line for his reign.
Oh.
So he left all that work to his younger brother, and he has immense guilt about it. Because he feels shame every time he sees his brother, or around the kingdom. So I have to play a very melancholy, a little bit of feeling to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm kind of excited about that. I want to show that because it's an animation project, and it's very. I know the artist and I know how they animate. I'm very excited about it. So it's gonna be beautiful.
That's cool.
Lackadaisy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be somewhat within that style.
Oh, I love that.
But more elegant kingdom-esque thing.
That's cool. Yeah, just from what you've said, that sounds very intriguing. I'm excited for that to come out. You gotta let me. You gotta share that with me when it comes out, and I will definitely watch that.
I gotta get started on that as well, and I've been wanting, because we have to go through the work for it, information, all the yada. But yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you took a break from voice acting for a while. Was there a reason behind that? Was it due to imposter syndrome or anything like that, or is just wanting to
that could be some of it.
Well, if that has something to do with it, I think that's a good thing to potentially talk about with voice actors. We all go through
definitely.
Imposter syndrome. Even I'm pretty sure even the big names still go through imposter syndrome at times. Shoot, I mean, even within my career, I still deal with imposter syndrome at times, and it's a tough thing to overcome. So if that break that you went through dealt with that, how did you ultimately work through your imposter syndrome and ultimately get through it and find your way back into doing more voiceover work?
I highly don't recommend feeling this way. So I took about possibly a 7-year, probably a bit less than that break. That's how old I am. But like,
you old man, you.
And I was going through a very bad time in my life. And I could also argue it was one of the greatest things, but also one of the worst things that had ever happened to me. And I had to struggle with myself, reflect, and be a better person. And I noticed in my life, I wasn't working for myself a lot. I was just for others. And so I had to change that. And that got in the way of my voicing because I wanted to live a better life, but I didn't have the tools, basically it came down to like, you don't have this, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. And I got angry. And that's the thing I say, don't ever do it because you're angry, even though it's a great motivator. Use your anger well, is what I say. Motivate yourself so you can become better. And that's how I got out of that, to be honest. I used my anger as my motivation because I didn't like the way I was heading, and I wanted to do something I liked. And that was the goal. And I got to that point. So,
well, I'm glad you got to that point. And it's not even necessarily a bad thing that you had to use anger to drive yourself out of it. I mean, we all use certain, tools to get us out of our funks and, want to perform again. Like for me, like the worst time I had it, and that was the reason why, one of the main reasons why I stepped away from voice acting for a little bit. I had a lot of personal responsibilities going on. Like I went back to school. I didn't have enough time to really voice act as much anymore. Then I got internships that took up a lot of my time, and I had my own job on top of that. And then I started dating who would ultimately be my wife. And then I had a kid, I got married, and all these things started piling up. And at any point I could have come right back to voice acting. But one of the things that really drove the nail in the coffin to make me step away from it altogether is I wasn't having success as much as I was when I first got started. And that deterred me from even wanting to audition and reach out and, improve upon my craft. And no one was really supporting me. No one was wanting to watch the work I was putting out there. And I would share it with friends, and the friends who told me like, dude, you got a great voice. You should be a voice actor. Oh, cool. Hey, guess what? I got the voice in this. Check it out. And they didn't watch it. And I'm like, well, that sucks. And I try to show my family, and they're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because I like doing it. Oh, that's kind of weird. Ah, shit. And, it's like there was nobody in my corner. There was nobody supporting me and pushing me through this like little lull period that I was going through. And when I finally got the courage to jump back on the mic and try this again, the first thing I promised myself was get people in your corner who are going to lift you and push you and make you keep going through this at any rough period in your career. And I did. Like I met a lot of great people through Newgrounds the second time around. And I met people through TikTok in the voice acting community. And then just I've met so many people who lift me up and encourage me to keep pursuing my voice acting career. And I think that's one of the best things that's come out of being able to voice Bob in Spooky Month is I was given a platform by David to showcase what I can truly do as a voice actor. And there was all these...
And everybody was listening.
Dude, so. It was amazing, the feedback that I got from all the Spooky Month fans. Like, Corey, that performance was so chilling. It was so eerie. It was so freaking good. Like, I can't picture anyone else voicing Bob. You were so fantastic. This was amazing. And, dude, whenever I start to have that imposter syndrome feelings, like, start creeping into my mind, I'm like, no. You've had plenty of people tell you that you're good at this, man, and you've improved so, so much. Don't give up. Keep going. Keep grinding. You got this. And I love that.
Exactly. Well, people told me I should be doing comedy, but I'm like, no.
Well, you are. Wait, they said you shouldn't be doing it, or you should?
I should be doing comedy. I'm like, no, I don't want to do comedy as a stand-up comedian.
Well, you are a funny guy, so it makes sense to me.
I'm just like, I'm funny, but I'm not that funny, you know? It's like, You gotta be a bit smart to be funny. So.
You guys are more funny looking than I am funny, okay?
Yeah,
People are
pretty
just starting
much.
I don't want people to laugh on my face.
Yeah.
Well, we've pretty much come to the point of the show where we can actually start wrapping things up because we are past the 30-minute mark. And as you guys know already, I don't want to drag on episodes. I want them to be nice and compact where we give you plenty of content to consume within 30 minutes. And you can, once this episode ends, you leave feeling fully satisfied, like you ate a very hefty dinner. I don't want you to overeat and, end up puking your brains out because you overstuffed yourself. So if you listened to the first episode, you heard how we ended the last episode. Joe and I, we recorded a scene and we replicated it. It was Breaking Bad, and he did it as Dr. Jib and I did it as Bob Velsip. So we have another scene that we're going to reenact this evening, and it is one of the most notable scenes from SpongeBob. And it is the classic scene between Man Ray and Patrick where Man Ray is trying to be nice and give back the wallet to Patrick, and Patrick says it's not his. And Elusive and I thought it would be a good idea to just do them as Spooky Month voices, because why not? It would be great, especially if Man Ray happens to be Kevin, because Kevin's the grumpy one, and Man Ray ends up getting grumpy in the scene. But last week, I did Bob, and I don't want to do Bob again, so I'm going to perform Patrick as Pump. Some people know what my Pump impression sounds like. Some people say it's good, and some people say, it's not all there. But
well, I'm going to do my Pump voice, and we're going to have some fun with it, okay?
Yes.
Yes, the unenthusiastic Kevin, yes. I love it. So we have the script up in front of us. I'll let you start it, Johnny, because that's Man Ray's the first line of the scene. So whenever you're ready, we are reenacting the famous SpongeBob wallet scene between Man Ray and Patrick as Kevin and Pump from Spooky Month.
Excuse me, sir, but I do believe you dropped your wallet.
It doesn't look familiar to me.
What? But I saw you drop it. Here.
No, it's not mine.
It is yours. I'm trying to be a good person and return it to you.
Return what to who?
Aren't you Patrick Star?
No, my name is Plump.
Why are you carrying ID? It says Pump. This is your ID.
Oh, yep.
I found this ID in this wallet. And if that's the case, this must be your wallet.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense to me, Kevin.
Then take it.
It's not my wallet.
You dumb blub! Take the wallet, or I'll rip your arms off!
Whoa!
That works so well. I love it so much. Quick little perfect scene between two iconic characters of Spooky Month. I love that. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Voices with Corey. Johnny, I am so grateful that you wanted to jump on the podcast and do this with me, man. Like I said, I've gotten to know you incredibly well over this last year and a half or so, and I'm excited to see how much you grow in your own career. And that's why I wanted to bring you on too, is just to let people hear your voice, hear about your work, and just give you the chance to, give people the chance to know who you are and get to know you and see your work. So thank you again for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, I love this. I hope in future things I get to, be a part of more podcasts and stuff. It seems like fun. So I'm rolling with the punches, got to push forward. So like everybody else, I got to go in there.
I don't think that this is a one-time thing. We're going to have you back on this show again.
Oh, I'd love to come back.
Well, everyone, thanks again for tuning in. Let us know if there's anything that we can improve on the show, too. Because remember, this is only episode 2. We want to make this podcast as great as it possibly can be. So if you have any suggestions, drop them down in the comments. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week where we have another fellow friend of mine who is another fantastic voice actor. I don't want to spoil it, but you'll hear it in the outro. It'll be announced. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Voices with Corey. Tune in to our next episode, where we interview Tommy Estrada, fellow voice actor and impressionist extraordinaire. See you next time.